From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Knapsack.
I'm Jen Landa.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And we're here to talk a little Star Wars news, breaking news from a long time ago, or the weekend, or some cool articles that popped up, or some box office news. We're going to get to all of that. And an extended life adventure section. A lot going on in all of our lives in terms of Star Wars and more. Before we get to that, we want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. We always like to recommend a book, of course, and we're still recommending Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear by Alexander Freed, book one in this trilogy. Two wonderful authors picking up the flag there on that trilogy of books. Alexander Freed, solid outing. We love it here. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. That A out of the way. Joseph, we still, and we always will have polite asks.
Yes. Polite asks, gentle plugs. If you are interested and able to help us keep going, Patreon is one of the best ways to do that. We have a goal to get to 430 paid patrons. We've been dancing around between 415, 420 in the last several months. When we get to 430, we're going to release a special episode of Star Wars Ranked, a classic episode from the vaults with new additional graphics added. We haven't exactly decided how we're going to do this, but if we ask Jennifer to do it, Jennifer's going to go wild. They're going to be graphics that you've never even dreamed of, because Jennifer does not go light when she adds graphics to things.
Some swooshes and whoops.
That's right.
That is right. So if you're interested, you can find us on patreon.com/ForceCenter. And also, please follow us on Blue Sky. We're trying to spend a little bit more time over there. And that is it.
That is it indeed. And if you're watching here on YouTube, give us a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. We're very close to 10,000 subs on YouTube. So that had been a goal a while ago. And we didn't give up hope. No one gives up hope at Star Wars, but we kind of were like, all right, maybe it's a longer term goal, and we're on the door of it. So awesome stuff there. Life adventures, like I said, a lot going on. Joseph and I saw Revenge of the Sith, but not together this time. We'll get into that. But Jen, we turn to you now here for a wonderful tale of meeting heroes, being around heroes, a big event. You were at the TCM screening of Empire Strikes Back. I don't even know if I'm describing it right. It was more than a screening. It was an extravaganza. Tell us your tale.
That's right. It was at the TCM Classic Film Festival at the TCL Chinese Theaters. I will never not be able to say all of that together. That's right. 45th anniversary, Empire Strikes Back. So every year TCM has this film festival where they show classic films. I mean, some of the greats. This year they were showing 2001: A Space Odyssey, Superman, Empire Strikes Back. So this was the opening night. They were kicking it off with a special appearance by George Lucas. So I worked the red carpet for TikTok Live, and it was crazy. So much fun, chaos, as you all know, with red carpets, right? But just seeing so many legends. The only one I did not get a chance to talk to was Ben Burt. I don't think he showed up after all. I was ready to go. I was going to ask him about his Worm Wars guide to understanding languages in Star Wars. But it was really fun. There's a real wide variety of fans there. Some people were just like, yeah, I remember seeing it in Empire and never saw it in the theater and I never saw it again. Other people were talking about the Star Wars holiday special. It was, I love classic films. I obviously love Star Wars. And so it was an absolute dream. And George Lucas, I stood next to him. And it's one of those things where if I feel like a lot of reporters might just be like, George, right? But there were people around him, and I don't know what it was, but it just was like he had a force field. I felt like I could not bother him and his wife, Melody Hobson. And so I just stood there like a dork, and I just stared at him. And do you know the only question that came into my mind, I literally couldn't think of anything except I was like, I wonder what he orders at Sbarro.
Forever.
I wish you had asked him who he was wearing. J.C. Penney.
Morona from Target, yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, because I had talked to my husband before this, he's like, remember, he's just a man. I'm like, no, he is not just a man.
He is.
But when I was standing there next to him, he's just a man, an incredibly brilliant, creative, innovative man. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna get emotional just talking about it, because he's like, you guys, he's getting older and like realizing that so many of our heroes are passing on. And so getting to hear him talk to TCM's Ben Mankiewicz. Oh my gosh, they could have talked for like hours. George just wanted to like share old stories about Francis Ford Coppola, American Graffiti, and Ben Mankiewicz is like, okay, so can we talk about Empire Strikes Back? And he's like, no, let me go back to Alan Ladd Jr. Like, oh my gosh, it was just. It was amazing.
That clip that was going around that I would love to get your thoughts on, Jen, of the how Yoda spoke, that kind of went a little viral this weekend. And I was watching Mankiewicz was like, had to cut him off and politely be like, I only got 25 minutes with you.
Yeah. I watched that entire 25-minute video.
Did you?
Oh gosh, I could talk about that for 8 hours, just that video, and sort of the dynamic that I think all of us understand as hosts, where like, hey, we're in charge of the energy in the forward movement, but then you invite a guest into your space who has a different energy, and you have that choice of, do I maintain the energy and pace of my show that I am hosting, or do I adapt to the energy of the person I'm speaking to, even though it is not the energy I had planned for the show? And there's that amazing tension. He made some great jokes of trying to, get George back on track. The viral thing about Yoda was the last question at the end.
Yes.
And George, threw it out quickly. But my personal belief is, if you give an 80-year-old a microphone, particularly at an event where you were honoring that 80-year-old, they're going to say whatever they want. And you made that choice when you gave an 80-year-old a microphone.
Well said. Exactly. And he had trouble remembering to hold the microphone to his hand, which was, the thing that I didn't realize, you guys. I mean, we've seen so many clips and documentaries. George Lucas is really funny. He's a very funny individual. And so like he was using that as like as a callback and a bit throughout it, like remembering to put the microphone here instead of, waving her around or whatever. It just was, oh my God. I feel like that could have been the main event, just listening to him talk for hours.
Yeah.
He felt a little bit more unchained. Like, he's always had his sort of like airing of grievances that he does in interviews, where he's frustrated by the past and not being respected or understood. That has been a thread since he was like 30 years old. But there was some stuff in this interview, joking around and swearing, and I don't think I've ever heard him swear in public.
Right. Yeah.
He said, "Esther, get off the pot." Favorite phrase of my father. So it made me feel like, man, people need to do 4 hours interviews with him as he gets a little bit more unchained, and see what other new details come out from his journey.
Lucas Unchained. That's what we need. That's what we need.
Exactly. Yeah. So many things that he was talking about that I just was like, oh, I want to dive in more to that. But yeah, he was on his own train.
So for what you did with the red carpet and all that, I know it was live on TikTok. Is there any sort of like collection? Is there anywhere that people can go see the work that you did?
We have on TCM, they have a little package up where I was interviewed by Dave Karger, who was on TCM. So we had a little interaction there. That was fun. And then I think that they're going to package it. It's gone, though, basically. Like, yeah, once it's live, it disappears, which gave me a sense of freedom, because I was like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, there were a couple awkward moments that nobody knows about anymore unless you watched it. So
you're not going to tell us? You're not going to tell us right now? Okay.
No. But overall, I thought it went really well. I was really, I'm like, I want to do this again. This was so much fun. Can we relive it? Like, how often does this happen,
Your Instagram pictures, you look so happy and in your element. It was so great to see. It was like, destiny is calling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like George Chakiris from West Side Story, he played Bernardo. I mean, that movie has had such an impact on my life. It's the reason why I actually thought I could ever be in the business. even though a lot of the actors ended up not being Latino. Whatever. That's an aside. That's an aside.
'Twas a different time, they say, embarrassed as they stare off into the distance.
Yeah, and it doesn't take away from the beauty and the magic and the story and Leonard Bernstein's music, right? Like all those things. And there is such a value in preserving and showing the new generation classic films. I feel like, and especially in our day and age with social media where like, you know, young people don't even know who Paris Hilton is. I saw that. Like things are moving so fast, but there is so much to be learned and appreciated, even though, yeah, there are some complicated things from past movies, but let's talk about it. Let's give it the context. Why is it still great that Hattie McDaniels won accolades, you know, from her performance? But let's talk about the complicated, you know, thing with Gone with the Wind. So anyways, yeah, that was my jam. That's my final word.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So good.
Wonderful. Yeah. Hopefully more to come. More to come. TCM needs you.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff there. Because of that, Jen, I know you were real busy, swamped, and then had, I don't know, you know, maybe sleep for a couple days. So your catch up with Andor was not as complete or as in depth as maybe you'd like, right? Is that what I gathered from you?
I only watched it one time. I only had time for one time. And my husband, I was like, what do you think about this 3-episode thing? And he's like, I think it's really smart. He's like, remember we used to binge things? Remember we wanted one more episode? He's like, this was not made for tired working parents. Let's be real. I said, okay, put that on the poster. Not for tired working parents. But yeah, it's fantastic. And you know, seeing Tony Gilroy's name as the only writer, it's like, wow, this is pretty amazing. And I just love the political intrigue and the thrills. And I feel like so much is being unraveled that I can't wait to dive in week after week.
There you go. There you go. You'll be joining us for the Andor Report this week, and we'll dive into the second arc. So
that's right.
That. But Joseph, on the flip side, we got to go sit in theaters and watch a Star Wars, and that's something that I personally absolutely love. And had that moment early on when the logo comes up and the 20th Century Fox is playing, which, you know, we always thought was part of Star Wars growing up. We didn't know it was just for the studio. I had this, I literally kind of closed my eyes and said, I can't wait to 2026 when Mandalorian Grogu is back. Can't wait to Star Wars is in theaters again, like with a new film. But anyways, where did you see it? Your experiences? Your life adventures with Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, it was delightful and strange, and the strangeness of it, I think, is part what was so delightful about it, because it's just so much more than the movie. It was all the experience around it, the other people, where I went. So I wanted to see it in 4DX because I thought that's going to be unique and different, and you know, I really can't see it that way at home. So my options were limited because there's only two theaters that were showing it. So I went to the Regal LA Live in North Hollywood, which was the theater was great, but it was kind of constructed to be this sort of cool neon temple to movies, but there weren't that many people there, so it was a little impressive at the theater in general. The screening was packed because there aren't as many seats in the 4DX, and it was pretty much full. I know I've talked about before going to the see 4DX film and go, well, this isn't that big of a deal. The chair moved a little bit. I saw a Scream movie, and it was like pretty subtle, of like if somebody got stabbed from the right, your chair bumped you just a little bit to the right, kind of thing, and it was really cool. This was an entirely different experience, and I did not understand what I was getting myself into with the 4DX. You know, like when you go to the mall and you see like one of those massage chairs, imagine it haunted and angry. That's it moved so much.
No.
I had got just a shot of whiskey, so like this much tiny amount of whiskey in a tall plastic glass, and I had to keep my hand on top of the glass because you're just being like thrown around like so much, and you're like, no, there should be someone at the door to be like, do you have a back problem? Like, I almost texted Ken, like, you're not seeing it in 4DX, right?
I did not.
Yeah, and then there were water effects. There was mist. There was a button you could turn water on and off. So yeah, there was the full 4DX experience. and it was great because when it was aligned, it was great. Like the Battle of Coruscant, and it tilts you down when they swoop down into the main battle. And when you're perfectly aligned, it's great. And then there are other things that didn't quite work. When there's a blast of air from behind you, and they did it like some good effects when a lightsaber slashes and it's like poof, but it makes an audible poof noise. It isn't just wind. So they did it a lot for falling or for something slashing by you. So when Obi-Wan decides to confront Grievous and jumps, just as he lands on his legs and his bottom lowers, it went poof. So it sounded exactly like Obi-Wan said hello there to an escape of gas. And it was like, come on, 4DX. This is one of my favorite moments. And you just made Obi-Wan toot.
No.
It was, that was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You made it. So it made it like a real life YouTube compilation video of Star Wars gas or something. Yeah, that's amazing.
It was. But there was some great stuff. The whole theater, they released a bunch of mist as the table with Vader rose up, and the mist was real. The rain effect was great when he was coming into the medical facility. They blasted water in your face when he got angry, and all the tubes exploded and went. So that whole 4DX thing really added a lot to it. But it was just, we'll talk about it a little bit with how the box office did, with just like all the different kinds of people who were there, the ages, dressed up, plotting for hello there, some good-hearted laughs at Palpatine as he becomes Sidious, and it is both terrifying and campy at the same time. You said something in your notes, Ken, about inappropriate responses, and there were some at my screening as well. So I'll pass the baton to you.
I saw it. My shout out to our friend of the show, listener of the show, Billy Patterson, aka Billy Business, from the old Screen Junkie fandom days. Like 2 months ago, or whenever it was announced, I got a text from Billy. He's like, "We're seeing this. I'm taking you." And we did. We saw it on a Friday night at a Regal, which this is nothing against Regal. The viewing experience, the quality of the sound, everything was great. It was at the old AMC and Pacific Theaters location of the Sherman Oaks Galleria, which was one of my favorite places to see movie. That's where we all three saw Last Jedi together back then.
Oh yeah.
It's a little depressing. Again, not defending a corporation or attacking a corporation. Regal, God bless you. But the old bar area is like blocked off. I don't know if they're putting anything there, but the snacks is about, it's about this tiny. The poor overworked employees dealing with a Friday night, and it was basically a toy store in line there, that's normal, I think now. But I'll say, just as a movie, it was slightly depressing from the golden age of that theater being an ArcLight.
An ArcLight.
ArcLight.
Yeah. Those were temples to the communal experience of cinema. Those lobbies designed to have people flow through them and talk about films. Yeah, it's hard.
Yep.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And so that was a little depressing, but that didn't take away. Bill and I had a great time, and I've never seen a 4DX movie, but you're also describing what I think I experienced in Captain EO and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
Jen, right?
100%.
I thought rats were going, okay, so it was like an early test. So we could even credit maybe George for that. Get in front of that.
Yeah.
So we didn't have that, but it wasn't a super packed on a Friday night, but it was solid. Everyone there, you could just feel the energy, while not as rambunctious at the El Cap for Phantom Menace, or the El Cap at the same time. I think it was the 7:30 show at El Cap is the Hayden and Sam Jackson walkout. I'm glad Billy and I didn't know that while we were in the theater of ours, but good experience. So same thing to you. Hello there. Poof or not, got a big response and applause. A lot of the stuff around Vader. And him falling to his knees and heavens fall, you'll be Darth Vader, got an applause, and the helmet coming down. And I'm there with it, because it's Darth Vader. It's an iconic thing. But Hayden comes out before on video, right, or on screen. and gives the, thank you for coming, and I'm just a humble llama farmer, but here we are doing our thing. And he says, I thought it was very specific, watching the story of Anakin falling to the dark side. Maybe a quote more specific, but I thought it was poignant. I think George is still struggling. The audience does not pay attention to that because lightsabers came out, applause. And I'm not here, an old man crabbing on anyone's fun, but then he ignites the blade to kill Source Bandim, kill the younglings. Joseph, Jennifer, Billy's my witness. The theater stood up and applauded.
What?
That was
lightsabers came out. Everyone was like, yeah.
Some people, the vibe for me was there's some anger in the air, which I 1000% understand. There's much for young people to be angry about. There's much for all of us to be angry about. And I've sensed almost like a catharsis. There was certainly there's the love for Hayden. And in some ways, this whole re-release feels like a victory tour for Hayden.
Yes.
And well deserved. So people were they screamed for this is where the fun begins, right?
Yes.
And so the audience was all like, let's cheer for everything Anakin does, let's cheer for every great moment Hayden does. And it was only one group of people, but it was almost like they wanted to cheer for it and they felt uncomfortable enough about it that they needed to make a joke. So a group started applauding. And then one of them just yelled out yeah, kill those kids. And it was clearly like let's take this over the top to make it okay. And the rest of the audience was like, ha. It was like an extremely weird emotional moment of we had all been aligned of we love this movie. It deserves respect. We love these actors. Let's kill some. What? How did our hype train lead us here? It was really, really weird, because that whole screen had just been this is great. People coming together to appreciate this film and appreciate these actors, and whoa, record scratch.
It was the energy behind it. And to be clear, Billy and I weren't clutching our pearls. There was a little bit of laughter from us, but Billy, that's all we talked about on the way home. Billy was just, he's got 2 young kids and he's just I'm not going to forgive him for that. And there's a big, you're right. And it's a famous moment. It's a controversial, much discussed. It's a meme. And I think there's something to the memification that just keeps sliding downhill where there's a lot of lack of sincerity, the lack of insight, the lack of understanding, media literacy, all those things. But it's a communal experience. It's not quite chicken jockey from Minecraft going on with people bringing live chickens or raw chicken meat to the screenings and just all the stuff you see going on with that. But it had that energy. So that's why I'm not clutching my pearls. But it was just it. But it was the energy behind it, and then immediately I become like a grumpy old man. I wanted to stand up and be like, Source Bandim represents his past. He's destroyed. Do you not get the it was just, but it didn't distract. It was an interesting 20-year journey with this moment, and it was fun to witness. It was also confusing at times, and it was a thing. I'm glad you experienced some level of it too.
That's horrible. The more appropriate thing would be shouting no, right? Something fun like that, where it's we're recognizing this is bad. I maybe it's if they don't have kids, I don't know. I can't imagine, because I actually knew somebody who was taking their kids to see Revenge of the Sith, who were around 7 or something. Imagine a kid is there and hearing these people cheering, yeah, kill the kid. As a 7-year-old, I'd be like, oh my God.
Well, and I'm sure, Joseph, my screening, it was varied ages and groups, and there was younger kids running around going to the bathroom. There was people in my age group and older, and everyone was there for the film. But yes, there was some youths there.
Yeah, I don't think I went at 4 o'clock. So I don't know. I don't think, and maybe parents are throw my kid in the haunted massage chair. Maybe the 40X made it so there weren't kids. I don't think there are any actual kids. Yeah. For me, I felt a little bit there was almost we want to align ourselves with Hayden. We want to align ourselves with Anakin and the dark side because we're angry and this is cathartic for us. And then that moment is a moment that they can't be in line with, and so they tried to handle it by making it a joke in an awkward, unhealthy way.
Yeah.
Of like, there was definitely a vibe of like, this is a bunch of friends hanging out, and I'm making a horrible joke to cover up the fact that I'm uncomfortable with. I've been applauding, and I can't quite applaud this moment, but I am, so I'm joking about it, and it felt very complex.
Yeah. It was a journey, and I loved it. It was overall just a great experience watching that film. So fun, like I said, to see Star Wars on the big screen again. I think last time was Phantom Menace with us and everything. So I can't wait for it to return. It just, that Battle of Coruscant is one of my favorite sequences, and the music and the drums of war just shaking. I can't imagine how they were shaking you, Joseph, but even in our seats, they were shaking.
Good. The sound was great. It looked great. It was. I'll have a few more things to say about the actual film since we're going to talk about the box office numbers. So I will contain myself.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll get to the news in a second. One final thing I want to talk about. I finished, without getting too spoiler heavy, I finished episode 3 of Light of Magic season 2. Highly recommend it. It's been emotional. The second episode with Ahmed Best, tears on that one, and man, they go up to 2023. It's Joe Johnston directing this time around, so it's fascinating to hear him. Last time Kasdan did great and knows his way around that world, obviously, but to hear Joe Johnston interview other people, it was fantastic. It was tear-inducing, especially with the Kerner facility having been shut down. With the model shop and everything, highly recommend it. If you haven't taken a dive into all the series, do it. But one interesting thing we made a joke about George and 4DX being part of his legacy, maybe too, and all those things. There's a great clip with Fawn Davis, who I've had the pleasure of meeting over the years. Actually, officiated a wedding at his studio for Matt Key and Brittany Wallach. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, great dude. And the great thing of like, yeah, he's going to be remembered as the Star Wars guy talking about George Lucas. But I think in the end, history is going to remember him as an innovator and a man behind innovations. And you run down the list and nonlinear editing and this and that and Pixar and everything that kind of came out from under his umbrella. And that really struck me, especially combined with what you're saying, Jen, of George is looking great now. I think there were some health concerns around Dial of Destiny. I think we all saw that red carpet, and there were some conversations. He's looking like he's lost some weight. He's got a sleek haircut in this doc. He's got little short sides. He looks solid, man. He looks good. But yeah, as you start reflecting, John Williams getting older, and even Harrison, and we're going to talk about Ian McDiarmid today. Like, yeah, that's the reality of life. But I really think that's part of the legacy of George. We're going to remember. Yes, Star Wars. We're here for Star Wars, but. Yeah, those innovations and how he's pushed the industry forward are always going to be the thing that I think needs to be discussed even in more detail. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My wife and I watched it. I saw that it had come out, and it's like, I really want to watch this. And she's like, "Are you sure you're super stressed about the film you're working on?" And it's like, "No, this will inspire me, not stress me." And yeah, it's great that the way the first episode, I don't want to say a spoiler for it, but it has an emotional cliffhanger. That's just a chef's kiss, the first season or the first episode. And then I thought it was just amazing that Joe Johnston, as a director, chose to make it more apparent to us, the viewer, that he was the interviewer, that this was not a random objective journalist.
Yeah.
He included these people who had a relationship with him. Either he was a mentor, or they were someone who displaced him, or he challenged George audibly of like, I think this is what happened. And George Bristles a couple times was like, no. He inserted himself in the documentary as a directorial choice, which was fascinating because it didn't make it just a like, here's a timeline of things that happened. It made it even more of like, these were humans with relationships making choices that led us to where we are. And, Lucas's big push to go all digital with Attack the Clones. It's like, that's why I'm hunched over my laptop and can make a film on my laptop. That's why I'm editing this. And everybody's like, yeah, digital cameras are standard. What's the problem? Because of these humans is great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't want to spoil for anyone else. But yeah, some of those moments, and yeah, Mirren coming back, and yeah, God, it was great. It was great. Yeah, it was wonderful. So highly recommend it. Tears at the end. Yeah, I'm in a weird place in my life, anyways. But just watching the transitional moments towards the end of the episode, I was bawling last night. So thank you, Joe Johnston. Thank you, ILM, and thank you everyone involved. All right. All right. Shall we do it? Shall we dive into some Star Wars news?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, yeah, keeping up with what we're talking about here, Revenge of the Sith did quite well at the box office, Anakin. The Revenge of the Sith pulled in approximately $25.2 million over the weekend. It opened in over 2,700 theaters. It made $17 million more worldwide. This is the most successful re-release since 2011, just overall, and it pushed the lifetime gross of Episode 3 over $900 million. Sinners was the leader of the weekend at $4.5 million, only a 6% drop off, which I consider good. Who knows these days? The conversation around box office is always a little weird. I haven't seen Sinners. A lot of people love it, but go support original stories, everybody. So, general thoughts on the numbers, Jen, as we get into the business of film.
I mean, I was impressed that a re-release came in second place. This is very, very unusual, especially the prequels, which have, I don't want to say a stigma, because there's many fans love the prequels. However, and I think that this proves that, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that over the years, the conversation has been, the prequels stink. Oh, really? Well, this came in at number 2 at the box office, right? So I think that was kind of good. It shut people up. What does this say? I don't know. I mean, Sinners is hot. I have not seen it as well. I really want to. I saw the Minecraft movie. I loved that. That came in at like number 4 or something. The Accountant, is it 2? Yeah. Accountant 2?
Well, you saw the Minecraft film. Did you yell chicken jockey at the screen and throw popcorn and
I
bring
loved
a live
it.
chicken?
I loved the chicken jockey. My 9-year-old, who's a huge Minecraft fan, was like, yes. And my 5-year-old's like, chicken jockey. They loved it. We did not bring chickens though. But yeah, so I don't know. I was surprised. I'm surprised that like the Ben Affleck film did mid, right? And maybe it's just not that good of a film. I don't know.
I maybe shouldn't have yelled chicken jockey when Anakin was about to kill Source Bandim, but that's how I coped.
Yeah. The chicken jockeys are so cute. It's hilarious.
It's just, we were going through clips on the Wagner show. They were showing me because I was not aware of this. And just that one clip on TikTok, and you pan over and someone's on top of their friend's shoulders, and that person's holding a live chicken, and they're all screaming. And if this is how we get people to theaters, let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is what Tom Cruise talks about. Jen, I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign for the prequel generation. This was a wider release than the Phantom Menace, and more theaters and everything. And to me, it's a why not situation. Like, we got these films, you got the theaters, people aren't going back as much for a variety of reasons, including the cost. I can't imagine taking a family of 4 to a 40X theater to get your butt rumbled is cheap. So if this is the events to do it, bring back. It's not just the nostalgia, but the fun of seeing it. It is different. I saw things, that. One of the things I was talking to Billy when we were heading out, I've stared at that Mustafar sequence for 20 years now. It's one of my favorite things, and we talk about it. I kind of never stopped and paid attention on my TV screens or my laptops or even my phone. That Mustafar's an entire city. There's buildings in the background. You don't focus on that as much. So that was fun. So this kind of stuff works. It works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I'm really excited to see. My wife and I are going to see Sinners tonight. Very excited about its reception. It's original and different and word of mouth, and go to see it without knowing anything about it. Like, this is great. It's perfect. The success of Revenge of the Sith, and I think the decision to open it much wider than Phantom Menace is fascinating. I think it's a reflection on that Star Wars is doing just fine, because people love to get their clickbait headlines of, is Star Wars dead? Is Star Wars in trouble? Like, well, no, clearly as a franchise, it's not. I think we've been seeing the reemerging popularity of the prequels, Then I also think like Hayden's having a moment, and the character of Anakin is having a moment with being so centered in Ahsoka. I think that is a big part of it. That I felt like a lot of people there. There were people at my screening dressed as both Anakin and Obi-Wan, and not together. One Obi-Wan and one Anakin. There were a lot of really excited people that, by my estimation, they're like, you are in your 20s, so you probably didn't see Revenge of the Sith when you were 5 years old. So like some people who like have loved this movie their entire life, and this is their opportunity to actually see it in the theater is a huge perspective. There were definitely like some millennials too, who are like, yeah, you're 38 or 40 and you probably did grow up with this movie. But then there's those even younger people who like, I grew up with it on my iPad, but I never got to see it in the theater. I think that is a huge part of it. I also think that it is important to remember that it is the best received of the prequels. Even in 2005, it got the best reviews. And that's the main thing I got out of watching it again, besides being rumbled by a haunted massage chair, was I just kind of feel like George really put his soul into that one. It's my favorite to watch is always going to be Attack of the Clones. That's my favorite to watch, but I think this is the best made film. There's shot after shot that's well constructed and well directed to bring out the soul. The opera scene, but also the Padme's ruminations, the kind of thing that George doesn't always slow down for, because he just, well, like I told you the information, you got it, let's go on to the next action scene. The actor made a face, you get the emotion, let's go. Revenge of the Sith, he's so slowed down and made the audience feel it. And I think there's this fascinating thing to me that he starts out in life with the original trilogy relating to the young farm boy who is dreaming of bigger things. And then, you know, comes around to this era and he makes that doc called Empire of Dreams, where he kind of sells himself as, I didn't like working for a big studio. I wanted to be independent. So I had to myself become a big studio, and kind of relates himself to Darth Vader. And it's really fascinating to think at the time he's making Revenge of the Sith, is he like, I used to see myself as Luke, but now that I'm older, I see myself as Anakin, as, you know, a young person with a kind heart who got pushed around by the system and made some choices I regret. I think that seeing the film again on the screen just drove home, like, I think it's really, really powerful. And I think that's part of the reason that it was successful then and now.
Absolutely makes sense. Absolutely. And, you know, it's also just fun, right? It was a fun night, just like Phantom Menace one there. Jen, any other thoughts on the numbers, the re-release? You haven't a chance to see it yet. Taking the kids to see Palpatine get his and win at the same time.
Oh my gosh. I would love, I mean, to me, it's my favorite of the prequels. I'm taking them to see the Phantom Menace, as you all know. So yeah, but this one is like, everything happens in this one. It's like Empire. Everything happens in Empire, right? And I feel like Revenge of the Sith has that. So it's the reason why it's doing well.
This year is also a big anniversary. We got the Force Awakens anniversary in December. 10 years. Are we hopeful for a re-release? Is it too soon? Is that even a thing, Joseph? Should we just start shoving these things in the theater so we can have fun again? Because I'd love to see this one at a theater.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to be positive on ForceCenter, but I honestly, I know there are people who like, I would love that. That would be great. I actually do think it's too soon. I think 10 years, like, you're just trying to do the math of, like, you know, a 6-year-old who's 16 now got to see it, or somebody who was 6 then got to see it in the theater. Like, I was thinking of those like 25-year-olds that I saw, like, you didn't get to see Revenge of the Sith in the theater, but I just don't know if there's enough of an audience who have grown up with it on streaming and haven't got a chance to see it. And I think for people our age, I saw it in the theater many times. I didn't see it in 40X. I'd go to see it in 40X.
Yeah.
But I saw it at the Egyptian and at El Capitan. And I saw it in 3D. And I saw it with just my wife. And I saw it with friends. And yeah, so I just kind of feel like maybe even a couple more years. If we're lucky enough to get the Rey film in 2028, maybe then You know, I want 15. Disney to do something to celebrate Force Awakens, and maybe releasing it back in the theater is the right idea. But I'm almost just like, I think I'm protective. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of it being re-released, not doing well, and having it reignite the sequels are garbage debates.
Yeah, that's we've all lived under these wars for the last 10 years, and it seeps in. And there's something we said too, like of what we're talking about is a push, a to celebrate the 10 years, as opposed to, like, I'm going on May 4th to the Rise of Skywalker screen and cannot wait to see that and see it at the Academy Museum. That is different than a re-release. That is different than bus benches. That is different than advertisements on YouTube videos and whatnot. But Jen, you pack up the babies, grab the old ladies, and head to the Force Awakens and Neil Diamond concert.
Oh my goodness, Neil Diamond. I feel like it's going to be 10 more years. I feel like it's going to be a 20th anniversary. 15, maybe. I don't know. 15, I think you're right. We need some time. It really doesn't feel like that long ago. I was like, wait, is it 5 years? Like, I really thought that, which is absurd because it's same age as my kid. So yeah, no. They're going to starve us too. I feel like we got so much. Like, this month has been Star Wars mania, which I'm loving. But I think they're going to wait because Mando and Grogu is coming up, so they're going to starve us. So we're starving and ready to binge on Mando.
Okay, it's like a Chihuahua that you're not giving treats to because they need to eat their dinner. Franny, please eat your munch. Okay, I get it. That's fair.
What do you think, Ken? Do you think it's too soon, or a December re-release?
I would like it, and I too soon maybe for certain. Like, to us, it definitely seems like yesterday, right? Like, I remember getting in my Camry and head into the screen and thinking Star Wars is back, baby, and that's a decade ago. That's crazy, but that's how time moves. For the 6 or 16-year-olds, it might seem like a lifetime ago. So I'm not saying I agree with the notion that it's, quote, too soon, but and I understand what you're saying, Joseph, of like, what will the discourse return? But I also kind of think, damn all that. Let's go see it at El Cap. Let's have Daisy come out. Let's have Oscar Isaac come out. Let's kind of claim it back. But we'll see. It's weird to think. I was just doing the math too on, Revenge of the Sith is 10 years before Force Awakens. That seemed like a lifetime, but it's not. It's not. It's a different time, different era for sure. But I would like to see it, like to have fun seeing it at El Cap or something like that. But maybe not as hopeful.
I definitely want them to do something. I don't want them to just let the 10-year anniversary slide. So maybe that's the best way to do it. I just want it to go well. I'm worried about my friend, The Force Awakens.
Yeah, my pal. Final question. This one here, we kind of already talked about it here, but in many ways. But general movie question, without a doubt, the industry is slumping. We got movies that do well, and a lot of it has to do with the culture around her, the memification of it. Or Barbenheimer's a once in a lifetime thing. I don't know if we'll ever see that again for a while. The chicken jockey is as bizarre as it is to me to watch on TikTok clips. It's working, and it's creating hype for a movie. But should studios do this more often? And I want to say too, I understand maybe old timers will say, well, back in my day they re-released New Hope and Empire. Yeah, those were like additional runs to me versus in a different time where you couldn't necessarily go grab the VHS easily. Used to get those in clamshells for $90 on the street until rentals became more of a normal thing. It is kind of what I'm talking about is what we are experiencing, going back and seeing it not on your iPad or not even on your great home studio. Like let's be clear, like TVs are wonderful and the sound bars and everything. Like you can experience a movie at home, but it's the communal experience. That's the energy behind the re-release that I'm talking about. So Jen, any movies you want to go see? Any movies you want back in theaters? And should they do this?
Oh, yeah. I have so many. I have a long, long list. I think that is challenging. For us, we're very lucky being in Los Angeles because we have the Egyptian Theater. We have Quentin Tarantino's movie theater. All these theaters around us which do show old movies. And by old, I mean 80s and 90s.
but some very, very old films too at revival houses. Yeah,
exactly. So we're very lucky. But a lot of the rest of the country, they don't have that. So would it be great? I really want to have maybe this already happened, Jurassic Park, because I want to take my kids. I want a re-release of that. I want a re-release of E.T. And I think it could be a way to like get people back to the movie theaters, because there just aren't as many movies being made. And certainly, like, I would say family friendly. That's why we went and saw a Minecraft movie. My kid loves Minecraft, but also it's just like, yay, we get to go as a family. You guys get to go experience the religious experience of watching art with people. What is that like? Like, you guys are talking Revenge of the Sith and the different audiences. With TCM audience, it was classy bunch of older people clapping at things. I was like hooting and hollering and stuff, and I was the only one it felt like. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be more respectful. This is a classy joint here. So there's nothing like it, right? So bring all those old movies back.
Before anyone comments down below, they did re-release Jurassic Park 3D, real 3D in 2023 for the 30th anniversary. So
damn it, I knew I missed it. I knew it. I was busy. Like, my children were too young to watch it. Yeah. That's a bummer. All right, I digress.
Indeed. For me, it's pretty simple. Yeah, this is a great strategy. I get it. I'm always... when I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark at AMC Burbank maybe 7-8 years ago, and it was just a fun experience. And it just, to me, I'm like, unless there's some, distribution hangups and red tape that I'm unaware of, legalities, or don't want to pay, I don't know, just more of this should happen. Like at these big megaplex theaters, one screen should just be dedicated to a re-release or something like that, if possible. Years ago I worked in the movie theater. I get some of it, but I want Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I want to experience that bike flying again for the first time. E.T.'s a great one there too. I won't say, make Young Guns jokes or anything like that, but I want something like big cultural watershed movies. It's just fun, man. It's just fun. Just do it. Joseph, I know you go to a lot of these theaters. You are a regular at seeing wonderful screenings and New Bev. I've love going to New Bev. I've been there really, I think, like one time to see Excalibur. I can't wait to go back. But your thoughts on all this here as we end?
Yeah, we're so lucky. ArcLight used to have their ArcLights Presents series, and that was just that wasn't like re-releases. That was ArcLight going like, well, we're gonna have old Halloween movies. We're gonna have this theme and that theme. I saw the original Dracula with people and got to hear like an 80-year-old woman when it ended, because it ends abruptly from our modern perception. It was like, that's it. The person doing the introduction of the ArcLight said it's 90 minutes, and like half the Dracula nerds are like, it's not 90 minutes, it's like 70. Saw King Kong, E.T., How the West Was Won, A Star Is Born, Blade Runner, all just at ArcLight. And then all the great revival houses, the New Beverly, the American Cinematheque runs the Egyptian, the Arrow, and the Los Feliz 3. They program some of the time, but the Egyptian's beautiful now. Owned by Netflix, but just that theater is phenomenal. Endless great opportunities. The Academy Museum is fantastic. And, I think there are two advantages to seeing things on the big screen, because people talk about like, well, we have great home systems now, because why would we leave? No matter how big your theater, your setup is at home, it is not as big as the screen at the Egyptian or the Chinese theater. They are massive. They are massive. And you see things that you don't, and you feel things in your sternum from the music that you don't. So there is like the scale, but then there's the community. Because like I love the New Beverly is just kind of a dinky little room where the ceiling's not quite tall enough, and the screen isn't that big. And I went to see Temple of Doom, and I sit in the back in the aisle, so if I need to urinate, I can go easily and not bug anybody else. And like, I think my television is actually bigger from my perception, but that's about community. And I told the story, and I wrote about it on the blog of Willard Hike, one of the writers, being there, and I didn't even know. But just the community of seeing it and hearing where people laughed and applauded, and where parents took their kids out for the scary parts, and like the community of it is so valuable. So I think the only block is studios not wanting to pay the marketing for big nationwide re-releases. That could be I think there can continue to be revival houses like this. But the one that I would love to see, because I didn't get to see it in the theater because it bombed in the theater, is Office Space, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And I've never got to see it with an audience all just like screaming during the printer destruction scene. And like, I have only ever laughed at that alone with one other person in my living room. And like,
I'll come over and watch it with you
need
and
to
say,
see that film with, 100 people minimum.
I did see it in theaters, and I always tell the story. Like it too is one of my favorite. Like it's one of those films I look at now and go, I don't even that's why I don't need to write screenplays anymore. He already did it. That happens. Everyone's like, Joseph's got a bit about an elevator. I'm like, I don't need to write jokes anymore. That John C. Reilly as Steve Brule is why I left sketch comedy. I'm like, that's what I would have done. He did it. I didn't love it in the theater. I came out of it with this film school cut. I was like, the love angle's too weak. It's just not believable. And then I just saw it later, and I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. So Joseph, what I'm saying is I wasted my opportunity when I saw it in the theater. I want to go see it again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Talking movie business, talking movies, kids. And hopefully out there, you all got to see Revenge of the Sith. Share your stories in our Discord, in the comments. We want to know. And look, don't come down too harsh on me being the pearl clutching old man about the kids, Source Bandim. It was quite an experience. But if you shared the same thing, or maybe you cheered, tell us why. I'd like to know. I'd like to know. Final story of the day, but it's a big one. Ian McDiarmid speaks to celebrate the anniversary release of Revenge of the Sith. Ian McDiarmid sat down with Variety for an interview. It's a wonderful interview with a lot of little bits of insight. I picked some highlights. I'll get us through those, but Joseph and Jennifer have maybe some things that jumped out to them as well. So we'll dive into it here. The interview began with Ian answering if he had more fun playing the duality of Palpatine or the fully exposed evilness of the Empire after Anakin falls in Revenge of the Sith. Ian did say the manipulation was always fun, but he enjoyed just simply having more to do in Revenge of the Sith, which is true. So I wanted to start the conversation here about what is our favorite version of Palpatine, the shady senator or the Sith Lord of an Emperor, Jen?
I love it all. The prequels, for me, he's the highlight. Watching this character, it's just like flashes of the evilness that we know, but being so charming feels very, very real. But what I love is really his performance in Revenge of the Sith, where we just see him go just like full over the top evil baddie, right? Like it's just so, and he talks about that in the interview where he's like, he felt like he was doing too much, and George Lucas is like, no, you can go more, do more. And I love it. And even though he is so big and larger than life, the fact that it still is believable, that's why he is who he is, Ian McDiarmid.
Absolutely. Here's the nice thing. We can have all of it. We don't actually have to choose. It's just a question prompt. But yes, I'm with you. The chewing up the scenery, and even just seeing it in the theater on Friday night, we all focus on unlimited power and the squid leg scene. Him cackling all through the battle with Yoda is really one of my favorite things.
Yeah,
it's just wonderful. But I've had over the years a deeper appreciation for the Phantom Menace. We get to see Sidious, of course, but just him doing the I might win. I've been nominated. Just him just holding back and acting, as McDiarmid says in this. Palpatine's an actor. I think I've grown to love that a little, not more, but just appreciate it in a way I didn't back then. But Joseph, again, you don't have to choose. But where do you go to first?
Man, impossible to choose from. Yes, I will make it legal to. Could call for a vote. No, I mean I love both the Shady Senator and the Sith Lord, and it's specific that I love both of them because I think that role, that dual role, is like the epitome of Star Wars. The Senator Palpatine is deeply real, and besides his amazing wardrobe, you could swap him in for real politicians real easy. You could swap him in for the midlife crisis billionaires who are ruining our lives right now. Senator and Chancellor Palpatine is very, very real and grounded within this world. But his truth that is buried underneath his secret face is that he's a cackling, pulpy, evil wizard who walked out of a Brothers Grimm story with lightning fingers. And the delivery in the performance is wildly fantastic and tipping into camp on purpose in parts. And I think the fact that these are two faces of evil, the dark, horrible, just snarling, rotten face of evil, that is hidden behind a polite, manipulative older man who is always asserting his authority in little passive, aggressive, manipulative ways. To combine that level of reality of how evil functions in our real world with the truth underneath and all in one character it's just so Star Wars. It's like we talk about the Andor, and I love Andor, and I think Andor's nuanced and great. But part of Star Wars is, on one hand, it's nuanced political realities, and on the other hand, it is wild, pulpy, and fantastic. And Palpatine is both. It's the same way Yoda has the deepest wisdom to tell us, and he's a funny Muppet, you know, and both are valuable. Both are what makes Star Wars unique. And I love Andor, but I wouldn't want all of Star Wars to be Andor, because I want some puppets and some cackling space wizards, because that's part of the special magic.
It is indeed. Indeed. Jed, any thoughts there on puppets and magic before we go to the voice?
That you're right. That to me is what separates Star Wars from other films. It's the reason why it has had such an impact, because it's wild, it's risky. Having an evil wizard, who's also a senator, and having this green puppet being the one that espouses all this philosophy, right? That is what Star Wars is. And yet, those wild characters are grounded in truth, and the actors that play them are so good that we believe it. Like that, I can't think of many other films that can do that. Franchises, especially.
The quote from Ian McDiarmid about trying to figure out Palpatine's manipulation and play him. He said, the thing that's always puzzled me about people when they make a lot of money is that somehow there's not enough. They need to be richer or more powerful than anybody else. And that seems to be the overriding objective of a lot of people. That fascinates me. And I just think it's so explicit to what's going on right now. We're fighting to save basic health care for people because a part of the government wants to give people who already have millions or billions of dollars more money. When I think about everything that is happening right now in terms of that, Palpatine shouting unlimited power does not seem over the top. It's the truth of nothing will ever be enough. And the only thing that gives me anything approaching joy is just taking more and more and more. That is at the heart of his campiness. And that's what makes it powerful. That's what I think George is right to tell him to go bigger.
And even watching it again and again, it's 70 feet high, and you're focused on it in a way maybe you haven't been in the last few years to watch, and then just with what's going on in the world, to watch him address the galaxy and talk about the assassination attempt on his life. It's left me scarred, but don't worry, I'm here, and it's going to be we got a safe and secure society. That whole scene that we've just spent years watching, felt absolutely pitch perfect, not over the top and campy. It felt right, unfortunately. Part of the performance. Little thing here, but it leads to more of the conversation of why we love this character, which we've always acknowledged is we understand, weird to say maybe, but we do. If I had heard this, I'd forgotten this. Maybe you two are in a different spot than me, but there was a possibility of another voice being used. Not surprising in terms of Star Wars or movie making, but that Ian found the voice on set by trying to match Clive Revels, and Richard Marquand kind of saying, "Hey, if you can match this, George might let you keep your voice." I don't think I've ever really swam around on that news, so I want to talk a little bit about his voice. It remains a favorite around here. It's part of the joy of the character in a weird way, and why do we all personally like it? And Jen, I look to you, Jedi beat reporter. Have you ever heard that?
I had not heard that. I mean, but when you watch the Empire, the original cut, right, of with Clive Revels' performance, it is a much more dignified sounding kind of voice. I think. What I think is so fascinating the way that Ian McDiarmid does it is that it moves, right? So he, like you guys were mimicking, he can go very high and soft and then growl. Like that's so fascinating.
You're right. He is Jiminy Glick. He is Martin Short's Jiminy Glick.
Oh my gosh, yes. You know what that does though is like moving your register like that. It's unhinged.
It's tough,
unhinged and it's unpredictable. And it's like, what is going on with this person? They're talking like this. So, anyways, I love it. It's dramatic.
It is dramatic. It's yeah, I do too. It is. It was just fun. I just was watching Kirby Enthusiasm clips, and there's the Martin Short, Larry David clip where Martin Short's trying to teach Larry how to do the voice, and it sounded exactly like you did there, Chad. Amazing. I mean, Joseph, this is a theater performance to me, which is, of course, absolutely makes sense from Ian McDiarmid. That's where he cut his teeth, and still probably was maybe even a bigger reputation as a skilled theater performer. That's what I think I love about it. What's your relationship with the voice over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when Clive Revel sadly passed a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it, I watched the original scene of The Emperor and Empire Strikes Back, which I haven't watched in a while. In it, there's a relationship. It's this like thin, slow, kind of regal voice. That's the sort of like I whisper, so you lean in, and I have power. And there's a relationship. And I feel like Ian McDiarmid took that, and then within that played the truth of the character, where like, I'm trying to be measured and calm. Sometimes it's manipulation, but sometimes my absolutely fury comes out. And I feel like that's a part of it, is that like he's trying to talk slow and smooth, and sometimes it's a manipulation. But but the Emperor gets to revel in just being so spiteful and petty in the way certain words are just kind of spat out. He does such a great job of, he knows the role so well. By the time he gets to Rise of Skywalker, the manipulation in that performance, long have I waited for my grandchild to come home. Like, I'm just a nice old man. And then the pettiness of, as I felt so false the last Skywalker. I think it's plain. I think the truth of someone so evil. There's the voice, like the performance, the timbre, but a lot of it is just McDiarmid's delivery. And I think as absurd as some of the lines are, and as absurd as the delivery is, the absurdity makes them fun, but they're powerful because they feel true. He talks about how in this interview about how Palpatine hates the idea of friends. So he liked making a meal of, one of my favorite lines from Revenge of the Sith that was just so good to hear in the theater was like, my little green friend. Just taking 2 years to say those 3 words. It's
I had I'm sure Joseph's sipping a drink and enjoying the moment of just hearing the Jedi are relentless.
Yes, it's one of my favorite lines. He's so believably creeped out.
Yeah. Damn Jedi.
It's like immediately he was screaming unlimited power 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Decades of planning, and 2 seconds later he's like, but what if somebody takes my power away?
Yeah. Yeah. Little annoying gnats of the Jedi. Yeah, look, the voice is fun to impersonate and play with and everything, and these wonderful memorable moments. But I think now looking back at all of it, 40 plus years of playing this character, like it is so purposeful. Like he just knows, Ian McDiarmid knows what he's doing, which is why he can come back. We'll talk a little bit about Rise of Skywalker in a bit, but like he can come back and give us my granddaughter, and also I died before. And it's just like he's just so in tune with the power and evil that is this character. And yeah, we could be having this conversation if Return of the Jedi was basically it. Everyone can go to that, especially in our generation. And I think it is that range. It is growing up being haunted by so be it Jedi before lightning comes out of your fingers, which was whoa. But then also I'm afraid the fact that, and if you watch the old Jedi Alliance with Maud and I, we used to have so much fun just going, because it's just so classic. But it's more than just, he is the embodiment of evil, but there's so much thought behind it there. And, which is that's why I plucked this out. Like I not really swam around that information that it could have been someone else, which might have been good, and we wouldn't have known the difference. Who knows? But so happy it turned out this way. So happy. Other things to discuss. Like I said, anything I didn't pluck out, we wanted to, you guys can highlight as well, of course. But Ian was asked about some of the adverse reactions to Rise of Skywalker and Palpatine's return. He responded, well, there's always something, isn't there? I don't read that stuff, and I'm not online. So I love this part of the interview. The interview was great, but it's like, so will only reach me if someone mentions it. And I just imagine him staring at the reporter. I thought there might be a bit of a fuss about bringing him back, but as I said, mine and Palpatine's logic was entirely reasonable. This man who was horribly maimed thought maybe one day it might happen to him, and we've got to have a plan B. I love the whole idea that he should come back and be even more powerful than he was before, though this time he had to be utterly destroyed. So I think he's dead. Look, his return will remain a sticking point for many. It's a memeable moment thanks to the Poe Dameron line. I get it. The dead speak. But what do we think of Ian's view on it and the character's return, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have our live cues that we're going to do is about the dead coming back in Star Wars. Keep it short. I agree with Ian's perspective on this. I think it makes perfect character sense that the character wouldn't want to let go and would have a plan B. I think a lot of the criticism about the Emperor coming back is about the creative process of how it was handled, the story that it was kind of impossible to divorce yourself from the real life back and forth of the sequel trilogy of how much was there a plan, wasn't there, the push and the pull. It was this moment where we're having an examination of how much nostalgia do we want, and is it creatively bankrupt to go back to the well? All that stuff is such a bigger conversation. I love Ian McDiarmid just bringing it down to, yeah, but the character would do this and it makes perfect sense for the character. And I really agree with that. And I think I continue to think the line somehow Palpatine returned is intended as an emotional line for Poe of, oh God, not an exposition line. But I agree the return could have been handled better in the film.
Sure.
To smooth things out for people. But I think it's fantastic that he returned. I think it works well for the character.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm behind it in terms of the themes, and that's always how we kind of measure things here. At least I do in general, the big why, and just to him as a performer to be plugged into that, and just kind of like that made sense to me. And that's what I played, and that's what I had fun with playing. And I'm always happy to get more McDiarmid as the Emperor there. So I just like that I did like that the question was asked in a way. It was something that would be hanging over an interview if you didn't. Like, it almost would feel safe, and he addressed it in a wonderful way, and not combative, not just like, yeah, no, I liked it. It was perfectly reasonable, entirely reasonable for this Mad Emperor to come back. But it's execution of it, the delivery of it, the Fortnite tie-in, all those things that come up, I understand, and unless I'm 4 drinks in at a bar, we're gonna have a nice conversation about it. I get it there, but fun to hear him talk about it. Jen, your thoughts on Ian's take on it?
I love his take. I think he's right. It makes perfect sense. But I also agree the execution, or maybe some things I wrestle with. But yes, who else would it be? I mean, come on, it's got to be the Emperor. Yeah. Of course, he would show up.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Again, like you said, you've been honest with some of your struggles with the final chapter too. So they're there, and we're in a meme culture, and that Dameron line was born to meme.
Oh my gosh. So good.
So Ian was asked, his return. No, that's not a good question. Scroll down, Kim. George and JJ and others expect actors to kind of work this stuff out themselves. And my point of this is there are a couple points in the interview where Ian talks about not knowing much about Palpatine's backstory, or how he came to even have a granddaughter, or even saying there wasn't much of a mapped out arc for him in the prequels upon being hired. What I was starting to say was George, JJ, and other directors expect the actors to work it out themselves in a way and show up ready to go. That's general. It's not case by case. There's obviously conversations and meetings and everything, but there's, especially Jed, if you got 4 lines on CSI, you show up and that's it. You're in the scene. No one's going to talk to you. Figure it out for yourself. I just shot a short film where I had no notes on what I was supposed to do. I had to show up and be prepared. It sometimes happens like that, but on this level, Ian said, and I'll come back to Jen on the question. Sorry. With George, you didn't discuss anything really. You turn up and you shoot. These films take a long time to make, and the pressure's intense for many reasons. Of course, George was at the forefront of all of that. So he had all of that to think about day by day. He takes a good deal of trouble over casting. But once he's cast, then he likes the actors to get on with it. So, Jen, how many times have you had to get on with it on set?
I think that this is very, very important because I think what people assume about actors in Star Wars is that they know all the canon. They know every single thing that their character has gone through in the comics and every episode of the Clone Wars. And it's like the actor's job is not to know that stuff. And this is what he shared in this interview, which I loved. He shared, what is his character's motivation? How does the character feel about everything, down to the specifics, like you're mentioning with the word friend, right? Like why does he hate that word, right? It's all so specific to give the performance that he gave. Ian McDiarmid does not need to know about the comic book issue from 2001, right? He doesn't need to know about the plot point. That's up to the writers. That's up to and it leaves it wide open for the Star Wars creators, future Star Wars creators, to be able to continue building the universe. But yeah. No, this is why he gave such a great performance. He's not weighed down by all that unnecessary information.
Yeah, and some of it, is what's key is there. He mentions, I think, in one of the other parts of the interview, like, I knew about the Darth Plagueis Wise story, and of course I killed him. Of course, and I was pretty clear in my performance that I killed my master. This kind of became this talking point in the Star Wars world. Two big things come to mind. Number one, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, Last Jedi. A lot of things about that. A lot of things that Mark said. A lot of things that he changed later on, and also a lot of really bad ideas that Mark has always had about his Star Wars characters that have leaked out. One day, maybe the supercut by the editors of the Director and the Jedi doc will come out. There's a supercut that exists of a cavalcade of bad Mark ideas that I've heard. That bad in the sense of he should be a 70-foot giant, and those but that's different from what we're talking about here. Where there was also the second one was when it came out that Donald Gleason didn't know his character's first name was Armitage, and there was some people up in arms about how dare this happen? These actors need to know this stuff, and his name was General Hux. It didn't necessarily factor into anything. They probably didn't even know the name yet. It was just General Hux. So it's a kind of a weird, often at times for me, silly debate because this is an artist, Joseph, talking about how he got to this performance.
Mm-hmm. And later in the interview, there's one thing I want to talk about of just kind of the nature of what this character is. And George told him an extremely important thing that he clearly ran with for the rest of the performance of the character. So it isn't about not directors or George in particular not telling the actors enough. It is about finding the right balance for the right actor. That's the biggest thing for me. And, having been an actor and a director, and in particular, what Ian is saying with this quote of George is the producer and he's worried about the time of the shoot and the effects of the shoot and the angle. And did we get this? And did I forget that? And if you have an actor who's like, you did the work and what I'm seeing on camera is what I need. And all I have to say to you as a director is maybe a little bigger, maybe a little slower. Actually, you're a little bit sadder in this scene. And I got an actor who doesn't need anything but that. Effing thank you. Because now I can worry about, do I have this right camera angle? Now I have this other actor over here who actually does need to talk through it. And they don't need lore, but they need more help going, why am I understand I'm sad in this scene, but is it like boo-hoo sad or existential dread sad? And you have to pull them aside and work through it with them because different actors need different things. And Ian McDiarmid is an old stage actor. He's like, oh yeah, I get it. It's a Shakespearean character who's I got a hidden dark face, and yeah, I did the work. Great, I'm good. That's a gift that directors should take.
Yeah, and having been directed by Joseph, I felt I got wonderful guidance of my character. Though he rejected my 6-page short story of how my podcast producer was used to be in news media.
Lies.
Oh my God!
Happily see that.
In this conversation about this, the reason I want to highlight this is, Ian talking about the backstory, things that were there, or not there, things in his heart, things in his head, and just things that are there for the character. But this comes up a lot, and we've recently had conversations about it. But there was a part of the interview where the interview kind of said there, we know there was going to be a series about Palpatine, which, by the way, I still don't know if that was true. I think that was kind of quite frankly, a Collider rumor started on shows that this was going to happen, or maybe it's a passing development idea. But it was an interesting moment, and Ian didn't deny it at all. But especially hearing Ian talk about how he came to build the character. Jen, do we ever want to know more about Sheev and how he became Palpatine? We had the Star Wars Underworld story, which I think this is where it kind of came up about he was a poor, broken-hearted incel. Where are we at with that right now, especially after hearing Ian talk about it?
Especially after hearing the full rumor on that. No, absolutely not. I take back what I said about the Rick McCallum interview where he's like, oh yeah, it would have been great. No, I don't want to see it. Sometimes it's okay to be mysterious, people.
Yeah. It's not that a young Palpatine fails to save the day, so it wouldn't be interesting. I mean, even Ian McDiarmid showing up in the third season Vandor would have been great. We'll see if he shows up here. I want to see more of him. I want the layers. The Clone Wars is wonderful for that, with different people performing the character, of course. But there's something about the origin, Joseph, that at this point, this and Yoda's planet, I'm good with never hearing.
Yeah, I'm. If somebody wants to make it, I'm sure it would be good, and I would happily cover it. But I don't need it. My headcanon, like everybody else who fell to the dark side, something bad happened to him. He chose this path, and unlike other heroes, Anakin, Ben, Asajj, Barriss, he couldn't turn back. And this is what happens to a person who couldn't turn back. He's miserable. All he ever does is fight to keep the power he has. I don't need it.
Same indeed. Would it be fun? Sure. Sure be fun. The cheese Danish I had the other day, very fun. I don't need it. I don't need it. That was what jumped out to me, and a wonderful interview. I will say this: when putting together the story, I saw the headline, Ian McDiarmid speaks about it. It's like, right, what do we got? We got 3 lines and a phoner or something like that. This was a really great interview. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, go to Variety and grab it. But that's what jumped out to me. But Jen, any other thing in the interview you want to discuss?
I just love how forthcoming he was, how insightful, how he shared his process and like his character's thoughts, which sometimes, and he mentioned he's not method, which I think is really important, because when you get method actors, oftentimes they're like, I don't talk about my character, but because they don't want to reveal their process, right? Because it's often very traumatic. But I just love it. He comes from the theater. He's an old school cat who has no problem like sharing all this, which is a real gift for any creative person, I think, and also any Star Wars fan.
And by the way, he for many years acting this character and not knowing his name was Sheev, because no one knew his name was Sheev until a short while ago. Joseph, any other things that jump out to you in this wonderful interview?
Yeah, two things. I love how much he talks about in terms of what his process is in the character. How much for him it is a Jekyll and Hyde character, in that Palpatine, this evil, rotting face of darkness, is the truth, and everything else is a mask. That's always the way I've felt about the character. There's the moment in Revenge of the Sith that is delightfully ambiguous to me, of when the lightning is hitting him, and how much is his face melting, and how much can he let go, and the rot is in there, and he can drop the energy it takes to contain how evil he is. And there's I can't hold it, which is like always been ambiguous to me, of like, that's a manipulation to Anakin about the lightning, but also it's always felt to me like he's saying, like, every time you've ever seen me with my Senator Palpatine face, this has wanted to pop out.
Yes.
The rotting teeth in the ridged, wrinkled face has wanted to just pop out because it's my truth, and I've actively been containing it. Has always been such an interesting idea to me, and I know other people don't agree with that interpretation of that Revenge of the Sith moment. That's fine. But what I really loved is how many quotes about this, and specifically the quote about George. George said, "You should think of your face as a carapace, as if we'd made me up and underneath was the real person." He talks about Palpatine as an ordinary, everyday, fairly hypocritical politician with a monster hiding inside his body. It's like when Dr. Jekyll turned into Mr. Hyde. He plays the human, but he isn't one. Palpatine embodies the dark side. He relishes it. He thinks people who don't enjoy it or don't allow themselves to be drawn into it are stupid. It's it's just such a great picture of what makes the character powerful, and it's just so wonderful to see an actor so in touch with, Sheev backstory. I threw my consciousness and I had a clone. Who cares? That stuff is the how. This is the what. This is the why. And he's got his hands all over it. It's so great. And so does George. For the George never tells you anything. You should think of your face as a carapace. That's all the direction the man needed for 42 years. And it's great direction.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should have told him that, Jed. What do you could have just whispered that, leaned over to him.
Can I share one other thing that because I so want to get you guys' take. Me and McDiarmid has talked a lot about how in various interviews about the opera box scene was at the end of the day and his throat was sore and there's a bunch of other stuff going on. This detail I'd never heard. And in addition to my throat and the fact it was late in the afternoon on a Friday, there was a birthday party for the first AD and a man in a gold suit, Anthony Daniels, was busy getting the champagne ready just off the set on a trolley. This is like the greatest behind the scenes Star Wars drama that 3PO almost ruined the greatest scene in Revenge of the Sith by getting champagne. It's so funny.
I'm so glad you brought that up at the end because in the conversation with him, because he just runs through everything. It was late in the day on a Friday. Don't ever try to shoot things. Everyone's trying to get home. There was a cell phone rang in 2005. A cell phone, probably some Palm Trio rang. And then, Anthony, Tony's in the corner popping corks.
Oh my gosh. I once had an acting teacher who was like, it does not matter what is going on off screen, what bad day you're having. People are going to see your face on screen. You can't be like, oh, by the way, audience, I was not feeling so great. Or, Anthony Daniels is having a party over there. It doesn't matter. You got to get it done. Oh, and there's nothing worse than holding up the crew. You do not want to be the one that doesn't know your lines or you're missing your mark. Oh, the pressure. The pressure.
The thing, I'm not a regular full-time actor, but just even, you're working with Joseph, working with Robert Butler III, Dwayne Burke was, I'm in his short film that comes out soon. To me, my perspective, Jed, is when you get to these sets, films, TV, you learn pretty fast you are the least important thing. You become maybe the most important thing that everything rides on. But I feel like I'm in the way. I got to get out of here. Let me do my lines and you all figure this out. I'm so sorry. I spent a lot of time apologizing.
Yeah, because they got to set up the shot. They got to light it. And it's like, if you screw up, then they have to reset everything, let alone if you're like doing a horror film where you have blood all over you and you have to go then get cleaned and whatever. Oh my gosh. It's a lot.
It's so powerful that like what we're all doing is trying to make a document that lives on. And yes, if that scene was just awful and Ian McDiarmid was normally like a fabulous actor is off, like, yeah, you can't put up a screen. Tony Daniels was popping corks in the background, right? We're all in this to make a future, but we're creating it in the present where like, it is the first AD's birthday and it is Friday and that person needs to get home to their kid and like balancing like that the now matters to all the real humans that that the audience won't see and feel when there's a re-release 20 years later. That is like the hardest thing of like caring about the now and caring about the future at the same time.
I'm glad we don't have, certainly not defending it, but, the famous Christian Bale, Mick G, he's in my eyeline speech, which I have to admit, like I said, not defending it. Sometimes I listen to it or heard it. Yeah, Christian Bale's not wrong, but I'm glad there's no Ian McDiarmid audio of, get Tony out of here. George, Tony's in my eyeline. Lovely. Wonderful interview. Thanks both of you for indulging me on that one. I was really blown away about how great that interview was there. So all right, on that note, let's get on out of here. Let's go celebrate our own pop cork and champagne pop corking days. I don't know. Tony's not here. So you can find us as a podcast on social media at ForceCenter Pod, of course. Blue Sky is probably the best spot for that right now. But we do have a Facebook page, Instagram page. Search and find us there. Podcast is available in a lot of spots. iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Don't forget, every Sunday we re-release Data Bank Brawl. We are moving along on that, but still a lot to go. So it's podcast only and get the re-release of that wonderful show. Merch available at TeePublic and Fourth Wall. Links down below on YouTube. Support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into our Discord there. You can find me at Ken Napzok or my website, kennapzok.com for more. That includes my radio show, Pop Rocket Radio, which you can get on my own Patreon page as well. Jen, where can they find and follow you and maybe, hopefully, get some TCM highlights soon?
That's right. You can find me on Instagram at Jennifer Landet. Check out TCM's Instagram and TikTok at TCM. There are a couple clips of me, things like that. Let them know that you want to see me back because I would love to work with them again. They were so fantastic, such a stellar team. And thank you to Lucasfilm for having me as well.
Lovely. Alicia Malone was there. Did you run into my old pal Alicia?
I met her. Yeah, I met her at the after party. She's so lovely. I wanted to continue chatting, but it was a whirlwind, and there's lots of things happening.
I love it. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen Alicia myself there. So, Joseph, take us home. You are still making your film and are still creating awareness and stuff for that. So please tell us where we can do that. As you, as a man who has directed me, let's get you better actors in the future.
Yes, you can find information on my website, josephscrimshaw.com, or you can subscribe to my blog, Finish Your Monsters. I've been trying to build up subscribers. It's been nice to see some ForceCenter friends subscribe to that. Yeah, the horror film is called Dead Media, and I am very close to finishing the first draft of the edit and thinking about all these things that we've been talking about a lot lately. You can also follow me on Sky.
There you go. All right, that's it. So for Ian McDiarmid, Tony Daniels, and that birthday party, we'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.